Hi, everyone. I have Fluffy with me tonight, and Chocolate's downstairs. He likes to go and watch birds at night and the hummingbirds at the feeder, so he's down at the screen. But I wanted definitely to have one of them tonight to thank Stephen Adamski in St. Louis, Missouri, who sent a large box of the most wonderful fish and other foods, cans and boxes and packages for both Chocolate and Fluffy, along with this heartwarming note, quote, "Hey, Linda, thanks for all of your work, and it is helping a lot of people, including me. I work for this cat food company, and I wanted to send some treats for Chocolate and Fluffy. Your YouTube channel, website, and other content is great to absorb, and I look forward to helping in any way that I can. Wish you the best, and thank you for your wonderful work. And say hi to Chocolate and Fluffy for me," and he put a smiley face there. "Best and love, Steve Adamski, St. Louis, Missouri." Well, Steve, I want to thank you on behalf of Fluffy and Chocolate, how much this means, and that I'm going to have a lot of fun feeding them this new, wonderful, remarkable looking food. I can't thank you enough. And I'm going to put dear little Fluffy down here in a minute, but I want to thank all of you who were at the Los Angeles Alien Con this past weekend, who gave me the most warm hugs to me for Chocolate and for Fluffy, because they have their own cats and their own animals that they love, and that there is a bond between us. And I am just so grateful to all of you. If only the whole world could love and support each other with the positive energy that you all give me in these conferences and through this screen and in your letters and in your emails, it would just be so wonderful. And now I've got Fluffy, who is purring, and Chocolate has now come to the door. Maybe you will see both of them up back of the bookcase as we go forward, who knows? But Chocolate has now at least come to the edge of the door. And, you know, after my YouTube live stream last Wednesday, and I still had packing to do for going to Alien Con. That was Wednesday, June 19th. And there were the leaked documents, the 15-page and the 11-page, and then a 3-page. And that I started with a discussion about the 15-page leaked documents of physicist Eric W. Davis's notes from his October 16, 2002 meeting with retired U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson in Las Vegas, Nevada. It concerned people, places, and research related to UFO and ET matters. And I emphasized that Admiral Wilson's, in the report to Eric, the physicist, that a secret space program manager that the Admiral knew said there was an intact UFO craft, quote, that was not of this earth, not made by man, not by human hands, close quote. Then further, about the other leak of June 6, the 11 note page that concerned a six-toed, six-fingered humanoid in autopsy, I shared that my own knowledge about seeing that Santilli alien autopsy film from May 31st, 1947, that I was directly in London in Ray Santilli's office, and I learned in that meeting with Ray Santilli that he had purchased the original U.S. Army 16-millimeter film from the original cameraman who filmed autopsies and alien technology that included UFO craft control panels embedded with six-fingered hands. And I stressed that 5 years ago, a physicist who really did work at Area 51, worked on the bismuth, magnesium, zinc, worked on the hand panels. He told me 5 years ago that the panels that he put his own fingers in, examined with a magnifying glass, were six-fingered, exactly like the original Army film that Santilli had, along with the interview with the cameraman and with the autopsy, in which when the scalpel moves in the actual film, you see fluid come out of the cut. I have never once doubted that in that meeting in September of 1995 with Ray Santilli at his office in London, that everything he was showing me, I had no doubt that it was real. And then later on, when Ray Santilli got some of it on a TV, government counterintelligence attacked that autopsy footage with stories that it was fake, and that this unfortunately did exactly what counterintel would want. They wanted to confuse and dissuade much of the public from taking the film seriously, which is a vivid look at a non-human humanoid type with six fingers and six toes that was found in an advanced craft May 31st, 1947. This is not the first week of July, Roswell. This is May 31st, 1947. Found in an advanced craft with the navigation hand imprinted panels and I-beams covered with ancient Greek symbols. Now, first, tonight, a week later, having been to Los Angeles and coming back, I want to thank the nearly 50,000 of you that have watched last week's story, and I hope another 50,000 of you will join, because of the controversy that keeps brewing by something else that keeps wanting to come into this leak and turn it around again as being something false. I stressed 1 week ago the importance of this document that was leaked, that contained information from Dr. Kit Green, who by his own admission worked formally for half a century, 50 years for the Central Intelligence Agency, on things related to UFOs, extraterrestrials, autopsies, and all sorts of medical issues with people in the human abduction syndrome. And that in these leaked 11 pages, from physicist Eric W. Davis to Robert Bigelow in Las Vegas, who is now the owner and founder of Bigelow Aerospace, that inside of those 11 pages, Dr. Kit Green confirms that the Santilli autopsy film is of a real alien cadaver and is a real autopsy. No matter what else is now trying to raise its head again to cast this important autopsy film into the fake category once again after 24 years, it's real. And those first 11 elite pages where Dr. Kit Green was briefed 3 times on that film. Yesterday morning, Tuesday, June 25th, UFO and consciousness researcher Grant Cameron of Winnipeg, Canada, participated in an interview. One was yesterday on the phone, and the day before was one in Skype. Yesterday, the interview was hosted by David Altman with Gary Schofield, an American business partner of Ray Santilli. Mr. Schofield was there right from the beginning with Ray Santilli 24 years ago in London. And today, he is joining to confirm that the 11 leaked pages are correct, that the six-fingered, six-toed autopsy footage that he and Ray Santilli worked on 24 years ago in London is genuine U.S. Army film. I listened to the phone interview today, and Mr. Schofield says, quote, We've been through everything over the last 20-something years in terms of verification, meaning he and Ray Santilli. We got the letter from Kodak Film confirming this was genuine 16 millimeter film that was used by the Army in this filming. He continues, we've had experts look at every single element of the film and try to debunk it 24 years ago. And this to me is really something monumental, he says. For me, we don't have to do anything more because we jumped through all of those hoops back in that day to convince them that what we did and had was real. And I've already heard that Ray and I have been accused now of taking money from the American government for us to say it was all a fake. What is wrong about that is that Ray and I have never once said this film was a fake. I know it wasn't fake. I know how he got it, meaning Santilli, from the Army, original Army cameraman. Now people have to chip away at the 11-page document that says it was real and vindicates us and will embarrass a lot of other people who have been on our case for a long time, close quote. Tonight, just a couple of hours ago, I talked with Dave Altman on the phone, and I learned that last Wednesday, Dave Altman called in to my YouTube, my live YouTube stream, because he wanted to give me contact information for Santilli, and he wanted me to be able to talk with Santilli and Schofield. He saw what I was reporting and wanted to support it. And that information went to Lori and Michael Moriarty, but nothing reached me until today in a phone discussion with Grant Cameron and Dave Altman, who told me that last Wednesday that he wanted me in this live stream to be presented to both to Gary Schofield and to Ray Santilli, and that after the live stream and it had gone to videotape, that he got the YouTube video link to Ray Santilli, and that after Ray Santilli watched my June 19th video 1 week ago, that he got back in touch with Dave Altman and said, quote, yes, the autopsy film is real, close quote, meaning that what I'm reporting is exactly what he knows. Now, for those who might not understand the significance of all that is happening, I was a first-hand eyewitness in September of 1995 in that office in London. The current crowd of people who are trying to talk about this were not there. I'm going to stress that again. They were not there. I looked at the cameraman, the original Army military cameraman's interview that Ray Santilli did. I am hoping now, with the help of Dave Altman and with Ray Santilli and with Gary Schofield, that here at my Earthfiles YouTube channel, that we will be able to show you some or all of that original film. We're in discussions on that now. You should see it. Because people who were not around in the summer of 1995 in London, who talked with Santilli and saw that material before counterintelligence started hitting it by December of 1995 and onward, you don't have the frame of reference that I and others do who were there then. One of the canisters, the film canisters that came from the original Army cameraman was torn, but on it you could see a 194, like the date, the last date, which I understand was May 31st, 1947. And over to the right, it said Truman. And then 3 years later, in 1998, I was in Florida secretly. I have done trips like this throughout my professional journalistic career. Nobody, not family, not anybody, knew where I was. And for 3 days, I was in a house in Florida with a whistleblower that some of you have come to know as Anonymous. And I called him Cooper and Stein, and a series of 20-some Earthfiles reports that I was able to do 10 years later because I was tapped and tracked to Florida, and the whistleblower was threatened, his family was threatened, and he said that all of the dozen audio tapes that I had made with his permission, with his written permission, and we were going to do videotape, that he asked me if I would wait. And I waited 10 years until I got a notice that he had died, which turned out not to be true, and that's why I did a first round of Earthfiles reports. And for any of you who would like to see a huge context around this same footage that we're talking about in Santilli, go to Earthfiles and do a search on K-E-W-P-E-R. That's the way I spelled Cooper at his request. He gave me the name, K-E-W-P-E-R. He also said I could call him Stein. So there are 2 rounds of 20-some reports of Cooper and Stein. If you read all of those, what you're going to find out is, in 1998, not knowing that I would be talking with this once upon a time Army crypto analyst, who that was his cover. He was working officially for the Central Intelligence Agency at Langley, Virginia. And his boss worked at Langley. He was teaching crypto analysis in a base in the Southeast, made me promise I would never say the name, because he says before he died in the last 3 years, he said, we still are actively pursuing and studying extraterrestrial, alien interaction, all sorts of subjects at this military base. I promised him I would never give it out, but that is real, and I've had other people confirm. What he told me in those 3 days, part of my 11 tapes, is that when he and his group working for the CIA were studying all kinds of film and artifacts that were coming to this base between 1956 and 1960, that one of the films that he watched was of a 6-fingered, 6-toed humanoid that he said was the Santilli film from 3 years before. I'm interviewing him in 1998 secretly, and he's talking about the Santilli film that I had seen for the first time in 1995. And he said that this is a part that is completely not in any of the film that I saw with Santilli. This is a very interesting part that he contributed. He said when in the film that they watched for the CIA, that they did a cut in the head of one of the 6-fingered, 6-toed bodies, and that there was more than one autopsy, which is exactly what the Santilli Army cameraman said, that he had been, I think it was 2 autopsies in one period and then another autopsy back in Washington, D.C. When they opened up the brain of one of these bodies, Cooper said that it looked like broccoli, that there were these branches that came up to all this articulation on the top. It was like the brain was full, not green, but meaning the structure. that the brain was just all of this structure of all kinds of branches with all these articulations, and none of them had ever seen anything like it. So the Santilli six-fingered, six-toed film has been confirmed for me by a physicist, by an Army cryptoanalyst. I had copies of all his records. His wife helped show me all the material that backed up her husband's description. I was there in September of 1995 in London in Santilli's office. I saw the cameraman, the entire interview. I looked at documentation. And in a way, it's almost puzzling that those 11 pages that were honest, from Kit Green confirming that this was a real cadaver and a real autopsy, with now being pushed back yet again. We are never going to get to truth if we keep being pushed around and intimidated by counterintelligence when the truth is right there in front of us. I hope and intend at my Earthfiles YouTube channel to keep unfolding as much as I can, because it becomes irritating that people are trying to reach me even with information about Ray Santilli and Shoefield now, when they are being pushed back against, and I'm here wanting to tell the truth. So if any of you who are listening tonight have any information about this six-fingered, six-toed autopsy that you want to get to me, I'm asking Lori and Michael right now, make sure that every name, every phone number, every email that comes to me with information gets to me by email or even on the air. I am doing these YouTubes for exactly this reason, to reach people who are whistleblowers so that we can keep reinforcing the truth against the onslaughts of counterintelligence. And if you hear energy in my voice tonight, it is because that's what I feel. I also talked with Grant Cameron about all of this, and hopefully as the future goes forward, we're going to get more leaks, and that those leaks I will be able to share further, including my own independent work with David Altman and with Ray Santilli and Gary Shoefield. Now, I'd like to move on briefly to another mystery. I know I said we would do all Q&A tonight, but there's so much that I have discovered today after getting back from Alien Con that has been invigorating to say the least. I wanted to use this time because I want you, the YouTube audience, to have as much truth as I can bring to bear, even when a lot of people are not stepping up to the plate. Now, this mystery on Mars. Here is the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory and California Institute of Technology websites posting of a raw image of an unexplained light or bright white spot that was imaged by the Curiosity rover, and the photograph taken by the NavCam Right B on Sol 2438 at 3:53:59 Universal Time on June 16th, 2010, 10 days ago. And here is what the unidentified white object looks like blown up. It's me blowing it up, because there is, if it is an artifact, it's still a very interesting structural pattern. Now, it could be a digital artifact, cosmic ray, or something very real on Mars and mysterious in that sky. This is from a sequence of raw images taken by the NASA JPL Caltech Curiosity rover at Teal Ridge in Gale Crater on Mars, June 16, 2019. The odd light or bright white pixels in the odd shape do not appear on any other Curiosity images that day, taken about 13 seconds apart. That's how they were taking the images. So it wasn't on the frame before, it wasn't on the frame after, which makes this even more peculiar. So if it is an unidentified flying object in the Martian sky, it moves quickly. NASA scientists did not provide any definite answer about the source of the white anomaly, but JPL's Curiosity rover scientists say that cosmic rays or sunlight glinting from rocks might have interfered with Curiosity's image, or cosmic ray particles can shoot at the speed of light into our solar system and then can hit the Curiosity rover camera images, leaving a bright spot. But nobody knows for sure. What is this that showed up in the Curiosity camera on June 16th, 10 days ago? And then on Wednesday, June 22nd, NASA's Curiosity rover was at Teal Ridge in Gale Crater on Mars when it detected the highest concentration of methane gas found to date in the red planet's atmosphere, 21 parts per billion. That is 3 times another mysterious sudden methane spike detected in 2013 by Curiosity, also in Gale Crater. And that was 7 parts per billion methane. It's much higher here on Earth, but the methane was also detected in 2003 by the European Space Agency's Mars Express, and a few times since. So the next day, on June 23rd, 2019, not too long ago, Principal Investigator Paul Mahaffey of NASA's Curiosity rover methane, what they call sample analysis at Mars, which is called SAM short, he tweeted, quote, "I detected the largest amount of methane ever during my mission, 21 parts per billion by volume. While microbial life can be a source of methane on Earth, methane can also be made by interaction between rocks and water." Well, methane on Earth is now close to 1,860 parts per billion methane, compared with 21 on Mars. But on our planet, methane is usually linked to microbial life known as methanogens. Those bacteria thrive where there is no oxygen, such as in rocks deep underground, or even in digestive tracts of animals where the microbes release methane as a waste product. But methane on Earth can sometimes also come from geothermal reaction of heat in rocks. So on Mars, is it life or geological chemistries? Now, in Earth, early atmosphere history, methane and carbon dioxide dominated, and CO2 would have come from volcanoes and methane from ancient bacterial life that converted hydrogen and carbon dioxide into methane and water. Oxygen did not emerge as a major player in Earth's atmosphere until plants evolved. So how do we find out if Martian methane is coming from life forms on that planet? And it has been tantalizing because 2003 and these various methane spikes, it's curious, because that's the kind of way that if there was life underground there, maybe this would be some of the first signatures. Well, the first step, as the scientists say, is to understand the ultimate question: what is the origin of the Martian methane? And to do that, they want to find out and study where it's released. Well, it has been Gale Crater, and that is where this most recent spike, and in April of 2019, Nature Geoscience, they had a whole article about this. And they went into the various possibilities of what could be behind the methane. And NASA posted this news update, quote, "Curiosity's scientists need time to analyze these clues and conduct many more methane observations. They also need time to collaborate with other science teams, including ESA, the European Space Agency, which has the Trace Gas Orbiter up there, and it is really advanced, and they might be able to do even more refined detections of methane." And then they combine all of these observations, and it might explain, as they focus in, that there is something in that Gale crater area on Mars that is linked to the production of methane, and we don't have the answer yet. But I think this is part of the excitement, that the more instruments that we have on Mars, hopefully Elon Musk is going to get there in 2024 to 2025, and that we will start having humans going to some of these sites, and they will be doing on-site analysis, and maybe it's going to be humans digging down into the soil, that we will find some life still on Mars that's related to the methane. Now, with all of this, I want to thank you, the audience, for coming on Wednesdays, and that I'm trying to cover both difficult ground and science ground and some of the broad subjects that we have gotten into, such as out of body, and that the whole landscape of Earthfiles YouTube broadcasts. I'm going to try to keep it mixed up, but I'm going to try to keep going in depth in some of these important subjects that I think that I can bring information to bear that maybe others can't, because I was there longer ago. So, Lori, I would like to now, to you and Michael, to start with the live questions that we have from our audience tonight.
Sure. Who's the first one? The bottom line, who is orchestrating everything? Who is at the top trying to keep us from knowing the truth? What, besides control of the population, is their agenda?
Okay, that is a very good question. This is something that Jim Marrs and I have talked about a lot when Jim and I shared so much information. God rest him wherever he is. I hope he's in another universe or another dimension, and maybe he can telepath back some information about this. But what Jim and I used to talk about is what appeared to be growing evidence from analysis such as, this was about 3 or 4 years ago, if you took all of the money that is circulating on the planet and you boiled it down to the root source of each of the barter system's origin points, which a Swiss economist did, and Jim did a lot in his one of his books, Depopulation. It comes down to ultimately something like 28 or so families on this planet control all of the barter system. And then comes the question, are all of those controlling families human? Jim Marrs did not think they were. I've talked with other people who think they are not either. But they're not in our faces. They're not the power brokers, the barter brokers of this planet. They aren't in our faces. Politicians are in our faces. The controllers of the barter system prefer secrecy at the highest level. So maybe if taking Jim and my discussions and you go to that question, is it possible that for the last 5,000, 10,000 years and longer, has Earth actually been terraformed, mined, genetically manipulated for those power brokers. And that those power brokers with a capital P have self-interests that are not the same for Homo sapiens sapien. Would that begin to explain the tremendous disconnect year after year for centuries and centuries and thousands of years? There's always an elite and a middle and those that just struggle to survive. That Earth isn't run for humans. Earth is run for something that seems to have a lot of power and the ability to manipulate. And if only a few families are behind all of the barter system, it makes me question, maybe Jim was on the right track. Could we ever prove it? Probably not. But as we are moving out into space, and I just read in the New York Times today, Wall Street is already valuing the asteroid belt of our solar system in the trillions of dollars in another 20 to 40 years. They're already beginning to bake it into who is going to control which, we'll say, which all sun place on the southern pole of the moon for power. Who's going to control what they find on Mars? Who is going to get out to the asteroid belt and start making claims on the asteroid belt for the gold and for the iron and for the metals, and then we need rare metals, and on, already being discussed and a value placed on it. So if we, seeming humans, who have been the ones kept dumb and blind by power brokers for so long, if we humans are already seeing that the potential for all kinds of gain in our solar system and then interstellar trade, there are whole planets out there made of nothing but diamond, and they now have analyzed one of these incoming asteroids, meteorites. I think it's an asteroid that will be coming past this planet that has so much gold that part of the story in the New York Times was that if all of the gold in an asteroid that's going to pass were divided among the 7.6 billion people on Earth, every single individual would get $1 or $2 trillion because there's so much gold in this asteroid that's going to be flying by. So you take all of this, back to your question, whoever the power brokers are that are controlling the silence, the secrecy, the black space program that has existed going all the way back to beginning in the time of Truman to Eisenhower, up to this day and beyond, it seems that at least some of them have self-interests that are not for you or for me. And I think that part of the agitation on the planet now politically is all about exactly that. The huge disconnect between the tiny percentage that have all the money, all the resources. They're making sure that they're going through the 21st century, no matter whether it's the moon, Earth, Mars, asteroids, and beyond, they're going to continue to lay claim. So, in one side, it seems the unfairness of human life on Earth points like a needle in a direction that we're not being served by people who care about us, humans at all. On the other side, we've talked about this to some extent on the Earthfiles YouTube channel. I am convinced that there is something about the Homo sapiens sapiens species that is quite unique. I tie it to our soul and maybe something else in terms of the evolution of the genetic biology in this oxygen-rich atmosphere that a lot of other life forms cannot sustain. As we continue to unfold and we get on Mars, think back about these discussions that began in 2018 to 2019 about divvying up the metals, the diamonds, the hydrocarbons, the sunshine, even in our own solar system, to those who already have the money and the power to get there. So, Lori, I think both positive and negative on that.
Our next question is, since the military has now asked our service people to come forward with UFO experiences, have you had more servicemen and women approach with stories?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I started the animal mutilation investigation 40 years ago in 1979, September. And we are now coming into almost the 1st of July of 2019. In those 40 years, the number of solid, substantive, military contacts to me with documents to back up is the most that I've ever received. And it sort of began for me with being able to videotape Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 back in July of 2018, 1 year ago. And it seems to me that it has kept increasing and increasing. And I hope to bring some more of it to you here at the Earthfiles YouTube channel. And I want to also say that at AlienCon, I was able, in a beautiful hall with beautiful equipment, to show the 4 latest versions of my evolving Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 videos. And it was so wonderful to see them, like being in a movie theater, watching a feature, without going out of sync, without lost material, and all of the problems that we have had trying to share this very important information at the YouTube channel. And that it made me want to thank all of you even more who have hung in there through all of the interferences, whether it's been caused by government or caused by insufficient technology or whatever it is, that it really was wonderful. And the feedback from people were fantastic in Los Angeles on the Spartan 1 and Spartan 2. And yes, there were people who came up and leaned to me and said, here's my name, I will be contacting you in the future, and that they know more. So to the best of my ability, trying to protect people, but also wanting to bring more and more information. I have some of the most fascinating contacts right now. And as we keep going in the future, I hope to share more and more here. And I'm going to get ready the video from Spartan 1 and Spartan 2. And if all goes well, I hope that we will be able to announce in September at my Earthfiles YouTube or my Earthfiles shop, and to announce it on YouTube, that the video special of Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 will be available in September in one large video. So for those of you who are interested in that, please email me so I start getting a feedback of how many of you would like the refined, high-quality video of Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, and we'll continue to unfold here. I would like my Earthfiles YouTube channel to be known as a place where whistleblowers can, with confidence, communicate with me. I will protect you, but my whole goal is to keep sharing truth that counterintelligence for 70 years since World War II have worked hard to keep from our whole world. What about another question?
Sure. Can you ask Linda, what is she reading these days? I know how busy she is.
Every 24 hours, I read the whole New York Times. I have Discover magazine in science. I love it. I am reading about pieces of 6 books, because what I find is I start reading a book. I'm reading one now that I will share with you after I get back from Manchester, England. It wouldn't work to share it now because I'm going to be meeting the author in England. But that book is complex, has so many moving parts to it, that then I find myself reaching out to another book and another book and another book and another. I call it the multiple facet reading. When it's really good, it means it's a really good book. When you have to start reaching out to other books to understand the book you're reading. And so that's where I am in a mode, because I'm trying to get through this one book for Manchester and somebody I will meet and talk to about this work. And then when I come back, it'll be in August to September, I will share a lot about this with you all. So I have never been without a book that I am reading, I don't think, since the first grade, meaning my life is constantly has been surrounded by books. I've always sought out books. I love books. I love to read paper way more than anything digital or electronic. And I do have about 1,000 books on library shelves. And I just keep adding to them more and more. And I'm hoping that when I interface with you guys through the lens and bring up books, that you will try to get them too. And that is how we cross-pollinate and how we learn to understand what's opening up now and why it's important based on other books from the past. So thank you. I will keep trying to share as much as I can. Go ahead, Lori.
Do you think there is a place for the human race among the other life forms in our solar system in order for us to all work together and grow together? Or do you think that we are seen as inferior?
Well, that is a very important and tough question. I guess the first thing that came to my mind is, I wish I could confirm for you and myself that there were, in fact, humanoid of some type, physical aliens on Mars, on the moon, the places that the whistleblowers in the military have been telling me for, the first one goes back 5 years ago, that there are alien intelligences based in the moon, underground of Mars, as well as Antarctica. And I'm convinced the Antarctica story is absolutely true. And what we need is somebody to step up to the plate with photographs, film on the moon and Mars. But what about everything else in the solar system? Would there be other life, but it may not be humanoid? If you go to Enceladus and it has a 30-mile deep ocean, it might be there are swimming creatures there, but it wouldn't be in the same category of us meeting and interacting with, I'm going to say, humanoids, because in the abduction syndrome, the humanoids have been in many different categories. They're all humanoid shaped, but a standing up alligator that has a head, holes for ears, and a snout, but has a neck and has 2 arms, 2 legs. You could look at it that way, even if it's 4 legs, but 2 front legs, two back legs, a tail. And in the abduction syndrome, they've been described as with the tail standing up, using the tail like a prop, like a tripod. So that is a commonly described humanoid. Would Homo sapiens sapiens ever be comfortable interacting with standing up alligator humanoids? I don't know. I have no idea. I know that they freak out people in the abduction syndrome. And then I know that there are beautiful, tall, blonde-haired, red-haired, black-haired. They come in those three hair colors. 6 to 8 feet tall, thin, very white-skinned humanoids. In history, the Archangel Michael references are of a blonde, blue-eyed, white-skinned humanoid. Was that really an ET? Are the ancient historic archangels a form of ET interacting with humans? But again, humans are not getting the correct impression or story. It's something that is angelic. It might be that it is ET. Would we meet any of those very tall, red-haired, black-haired, gold or yellow-haired humanoids out in our solar system? I don't know. So, and you can continue to the Ebens, the ones with the pear-shaped heads and the gray skin, who make all of those androids, clones, maybe cyborgs that have that kind of grayish skin that they do, but with all kinds of different shaped heads, sizes, lenses, all mixture, but it might all be Eben production. Would they be in the moon, Mars? Maybe. They seem to be tied to it more. But as we would go out, if Elon Musk, whether he's been read into an ET UFO program or not, if he gets to Mars or his people get to Mars to build this base, then would they then be, as humans have been on Earth for thousands, millions of years, that the other intelligences always go under the surfaces of planets? Is that one of the possible what we would look for as a characterization of alien life forms elsewhere? If they have chosen to be based under the rind, the surface rind of Earth, which is what many government people have told me, and military people, yeah, we have alien presences on Earth. They've been here for millions of years, but they only come up when they want to do something on the surface, so that they've got some kind of life living bases underneath the rind of the Earth. Well, would that be the same on Mars? And if they're inside the moon, that would mean they chose not to be on top, but they went inside. How much of the Milky Way galaxy, if we knew every solar system, if we knew where every alien, what we would call alien, or just other life forms are, what would be the percentage that always choose to go under the surface of planets, perhaps because of atmospheric conditions, gamma ray bursts, fears, and that maybe Homo sapien are unusual in the Milky Way galaxy, that we live in all these weather systems and solar flares and cosmic rays. We're living on the surface that is more vulnerable. Maybe that's rare. And I think that's part of the excitement about if we can survive ourselves, if we can keep going through the 21st century, if we can start honestly interacting with allies, non-humans that are allies, and they teach us, and we begin to learn to trust them, that they will prove that we can trust the knowledge that they give us and not lie to us, that they aren't going to pretend to be gods that we would get down on our knees to, that so much of that happened on this planet. They weren't gods. but humans were basically manipulated into looking at them as gods. If we have a straightforward relationship with non-humans on a bunch of planets that are related to as life forms like we are in this planet, then maybe it would be by the end of this century that humans, as Homo sapiens sapien, might be able to even go to another planet through some kind of regular transport. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I think a lot of us who love Star Trek, I've always had this dream that we would get to a point day where going to other planets would be like flying to New York from Albuquerque, and that we would be meeting with all kinds of people like we do in New York City, and that several people have told me that the Casbah scene in Star Wars, where there were all those different creatures in something we would call a pub or a bar, that it's based on a reality. And that, to me, is exciting and not scary if soon all the governments of this planet will tell us the truth, that we're not alone and that we have allies. And just like Spartan 1 said, he was told there are at least 7 non-human intelligences that our military and power brokers deal with. 4 of them are our allies, our friends, and have proved that over and over again. 3 are hostile for reasons that are not clear and would like to hurt life on Earth and maybe in this solar system. Well, what could be better than to be educated by the people who know the truth, and we begin to understand who the allies are and who the enemies are and who the neutrals are, and that the Casbah scene from Star Wars becomes part of life on planet Earth as we move out into our solar system, hopefully with power brokers that are no longer trying to take all the resources for themselves, but realize how important it is to share resources with the humans that they depend upon to support all of the infrastructure of planet Earth and beyond. That fairness, fair treatment may, by the end of this century, may become a new way of dealing with humans by those who are older, more advanced, and have been watching and interacting, but now the time has come for humans to grow up and no longer be coddled by we can't tell them, because they would run in panic. That has to stop. We have to be told the truth. And on that note tonight, I want to thank everybody for being here. Please, next Wednesday, I'm going to be with my daughter, Laura, my bright, beautiful diamond of a granddaughter, Hannah, my son-in-law, John, my brother, Jim Moulton, and we are going to be doing fun things from the beginning of this coming week of 4th July through next Sunday. So I won't be here this coming Wednesday for YouTube, but the next week I will be back with all of the new material that I have on the Santilli film, a whistleblower and a fascinating UFO eyewitness who is drawing me illustrations, and I will have an interview with her. And that will be on the, what is that, Lori? If 5th is Thursday, 4th, the 10th of July. I'll be back with a whole bunch more, and I welcome your emails, your handwritten letters, and God bless all of you and all of your wonderful creature animals. Thank you.